Hey, what's up, YouTube? It has been a minute since I last posted a video. I've been busy with work and school and all of the necessary things to try and accomplish my goal of getting my master's finally in the IT field. So that's pretty much what's been consuming my time of late. Well, Bo, my dog's groaning over here because I'm bothering him from sleeping. Ah, the nerve, right? But anyway, so I thought I'd take a little bit of time and explain some things that I discovered when installing some new gimbals for my Taranis x9d here. I had my aileron and elevator gimbal go out on me last week. It wouldn't, they're the factory gimbals. They're notorious for just not centering. So I I made the choice to go ahead and just, replace the factory gimbals with the Hall Effect Gimals. And they're really, really nice pieces. They're all, the frame itself is all aluminum. And if you don't know what the Hall Effect gimbals are, there are plenty of YouTube videos out there explaining what the Hall Effect is. Joshua Bardwell does a really good video on explaining what the physics behind the Hall Effect actually is. It has to do with the magnetic field that these gimbals or the Hall Effect actually utilizes to measure resistance and all of that good stuff. But or actually not resistance, but position of where the gimbal is in relation to itself. So in installing these gimbals, the frame that the gimbal sits on, or is, you can't really see it, but this piece here, this is your frame, okay, and it's fastened by 4 Allen head screws from the face of the transmitter. This side of the frame is pretty much flat. This side over here, and I'll show you here in a second, has a little bit of a notched part that comes out. From the factory, they are flip-flopped to where that notched out section is actually over on the spring side and not the tension side of the gimbal. This set screw right here will, in effect, give you the ratcheting. Well, it would be the ratcheting sensation whenever you are manipulating the gimbal. This one actually adjusts your tension, so you can adjust tension and that ratcheting effect on your gimbals. But from the factory, this frame is flip-flopped, so essentially puts this bump out on this side of the gimbal itself. So what happens is that bump out will actually interfere with your elevator trim right here and cause it to bind. Didn't realize that from when I was installing the gimbals, because they don't tell you that that's actually an issue. So what you have to do is, there's 4 screws that fasten the actual gimbal itself to the frame. Just take those 4 screws out and rotate it 180 degrees and you should be good. So just a little bit of a tip. I have yet to do the, let's see if I can get out of the shadow. I have yet to flip-flop the gimbal frame here. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so I'll have to find those videos there. But anyway, this frame here has not been rotated 180 degrees yet. So by moving that frame 180 degrees, it allows the trims to not bind, essentially. But I'll pause the video here, disassemble a gimbal here, and resume the video, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so I've got the gimbal removed, and you can see this little notched, or I should say this little bump out right here, but it's notched on the edges there. That notch interferes with your, in this case, the throttle trim frame. You can't even really see it a whole lot, but trust me, it's there. What it does is it will actually, there we go. This part here, this little spot, if you look on this side, there is no bump out. There it is. They've got a bump out. This is probably for another style of radio, but to quickly remedy this, this is my throttle. You can see it has no notch. Notch stops in there. Now if I was to tighten the outer side up, I would get a notched effect, or a notched action on the gimbal. But this here has to be rotated 180 degrees. To do that, just take out those 4 screws right there and rotate it 180 degrees, and essentially you will flip-flop where the notch is in relation to the actual radio parts that are being interfered with. And it's kind of hard to see, but there's a plastic frame right there, and that's what you're actually running into as a problem, because that little knot, or the little bump out part right there actually bumps into that plastic frame, which causes it to, if you seat the gimbals properly, it causes that plastic part to bind, which causes your trim buttons to not function properly. So I'll pause it and flip-flop it and show you what it looks like. Alright, now make note, this little bump out area is on the spring side here, for this particular gimbal. So hold on one second. Okay, we are picking the video back up. So as you can see, I've rotated the frame, the gimbal frame, 180 degrees to where that little bump out section is now on the tensioner side of the gimbal assembly itself, and this smooth edge right here is on this the throttle spring, if you will, which would be the y-axis of the gimbal. So next I'll pause it and have it reinstalled. And if you are coming to this video wanting to know about the installation of these gimbals, I'll put together another video that kind of shows you the basics of what you need to do. Alright, hold on one second. Okay, let's see if I can get in here. Alright, we're back. Now the gimbal's fully installed. It's simply installed with these 4 hex head bolts right there. Very, very simple to install. If you know that the frame needs to actually be rotated. And I don't know if this is a manufacturing mistake or if they come that way, but regardless of that, they have to be rotated if that notched out area or that bump out area is on the side of this spring here, the tensioner spring for your y-axis of the gimbal. But other than that, the only thing you have to really worry about is this set of pins here this cable here, and this whole cable assembly here. Pop those out of those boards, and those are the only wires that are actually attached to the gimbal assembly. Once that's done, unscrew the gimbal from the frame, you know, with those 4 bolts there, and you should be good to go. That gimbal will pop right out. And those are, I'm utilizing 2.5 millimeter hex head wrench to take those out. And then once you get that done, pay attention to these switches here, because they will come out. You can change those around in the software, but I tend to want to get them back in the same way, so I'll power this up before I actually put the final screws back into it and get it reassembled. But I'll make sure that they're in the right position. I'll just turn on the power or apply power and make sure that they're where they need to be. Once that's done, I'll just reassemble the whole case and finish it up. So the reassembly part is very, very simple. There's 6 screws that hold the back case on to the front part of the case. Take those out and the case pops apart. Don't forget to take out the battery before you do anything, otherwise you might have a pretty eventful experience. Some things might happen that you really don't want to happen. So make sure to always disconnect the power before you start digging into the guts of any sort of electronics. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful. If you think it was, smash the like button on the video. That helps me out a ton. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. That helps me out as well. And make sure you hit the notification bell anytime that you're watching one of these videos. That way I know that you're a subscriber and you get notified of any future videos that I put out. Anyway, everybody have a great day, and we'll catch you later. Peace.